That was a good one. Good evening, all. Gary Gabagool here with my boy Sal, Red Podcast 49. I hope everyone had a wonderful Easter with their families and friends.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Sal and I were thinking about the best title that we could come up with, and I think it's incredibly appropriate that we can say after this Easter weekend that the Lord and us conservatives have risen after being tortured by liberals. Jesus for the 3 days. And for us, our lives, the last 5 years of our lives being tortured, but we have risen.
Yes, thank God.
We're
finally back.
So I'm hoping the liberals, if any are watching, love the analogy.
Yeah, they won't get it. They're just gonna bitch and complain.
There's no Lord. There's no fictional God.
They hate. Liberals hate any discussion of the Lord.
Anything that's
God
bigger than themselves,
yes,
they hate.
They hate it.
They can't stand it. It has to be all about identity politics for them, or else it's no go.
Exactly. So we're on a short little hiatus. Last week I was gone, so pretty much the whole week. So I was up in this old stomping grounds of Jersey, back down here in FLA. So we're coming to you on this Monday night, and I'm going to turn it over to Sal, see what he's going to start the show with. But we got a lot of great things to talk about. Basically, the theme of the show is going to kind of be pervasive of what's been going on for the last
10 days.
Well, actually,
the last
it's been going
months and months.
Yeah, it's been going on for months and months.
It's
and I'm going to turn over to Sal in a second. But basically, the theme every single week is different players, same game. Liberal lies, liberal corruption, liberal criminality. The media completely being absent of doing their job. I mean, they're just void of doing their job. I mean, when you have major news organizations talking about some fucking idiot like Stormy Daniels instead of talking about really what's out there, it really tells you innately how screwed up the media is. They have worse than zero credibility, and it's gotten to a point where listening to any of their hosts, watching any of their shows, if you are, then I'm sorry, you're an idiot, because they're just completely lying to you. And the fact that you buy into it, you are playing right into their game, and you spit out their rhetoric and propaganda like wordsmithing, like your favorite. The way us conservatives would talk about our favorite movie lines, every day you just spit out their mantra like dummies. But anyway, I'm gonna turn over to Sal.
So we're gonna go into like your field of work, and I noticed this week that the Obamacare premiums, they're set to spike yet again. And the states that it's going to spike in, of course, the tremendously liberal blue states.
Yep.
Those states in particular, they're trying to pass individual mandate taxes just in those states because obviously it got repealed by President Trump, and it's not a national thing where everyone has to pay this stupid tax anymore. Now, if you live in the blue states, they're going to try to pass that tax, and it'll get passed.
Yep.
And those poor people are going to have to pay that stupid. I can't even get into how un-American that tax is.
But there is so much wrong with Obamacare. I could go into it ad nauseum. I won't do it because we've discussed it in the past. And you really don't need to discuss, because the people who watch this, who are hardworking Americans supporting their families, are suffering financially every day.
Can you imagine just being so happy that Trump got in, but finally that stupid $800 tax that comes out of your tax, that's a big chunk of some people's tax money. Yep. Like, finally, I don't have to pay this stupid thing anymore. It's been 4 long years paying it. And then come to find out that if you live in a liberal blue state, that they're going to pass it yet again.
Well,
and you're going to be completely screwed.
I've got a great story.
Yet again.
And this is true. I have a buddy who's a CPA. He does a shitload of taxes every year. And in his building that he works, there's a yoga instructor who basically voted for Obama twice, and she was pushing for Hillary really hard in the last election. She gave him her tax stuff, and she's an independent contractor. You know, she probably doesn't make a lot of money, yoga instructor, 1099, and she didn't get health care. So when it was time for her to do her taxes, she comes to my buddy and says, "How much am I getting back this year?" And he says, "Sorry, you got to pay." And she freaked out. She started screaming at him. How can I pay? I never pay, blah, blah. And he kind of had, and my buddy Danny is a good ball buster, and he kind of put a smug look on his face. He goes, wait a second, before we go any further, he goes, didn't you vote for Obama twice? And weren't you telling me why I should vote for him? She said, well, what's that got to do with anything? He goes, the reason you have to pay, and I think her fine, if I'm not mistaken, was like $2,000 or something.
It depends on the year.
Yeah. She was like $2,000 or $2,400. And he told her, that's why you have to pay. And she didn't believe him. And so he had to physically show her on her tax return where you didn't have the Obamacare, you didn't have the health care, you have to pay the penalty.
Yeah.
And all she did was she ripped the papers out of his hand and she blamed him. Think about the warped ideology of a person. You're blaming the accountant for the person you voted for putting in the tax that you have to pay. That's how warped liberal people are. When we make fun of liberals, that is a perfect example why. Because the logic is so out of control crazy. You made a decision to vote for someone who's screwing you. Instead of blaming the person who's screwing you, you're blaming the messenger who's just telling you that you got to pay. There's nothing more that needs to be said about how messed up that is. But that happens in all aspects of life with liberals, everywhere.
I think America's getting fed up with all that liberal nonsense. And that just goes to show you because Roseanne started a couple weeks ago, and the numbers started at like 18 million, whatever. Now they're all the way up to 25 million. I'm sure by the end of next week, it'll be like every conservative person in America will be watching that show.
Sal, myself, and my wife, we didn't have TV for like 3 weeks, probably long, maybe 3.5 weeks.
About a month.
Yeah, about a month. I don't know anything going on TV. I don't know anything. And even, excuse me, even when TV's on, unless I DVR it, I don't really watch anything. I got to be honest with you. Like I watch a couple, but it isn't like Sal could say to me, hey, tonight's Tuesday night. I don't know what's on Tuesday night. Like tonight's Monday night. And people make fun of me, but I know Raw is on tonight, which everyone loves to goof on me about, but I like wrestling. But that's the only really thing I know. That's
know how many people knew what you meant by Raw is zero.
That's
right. Until you said wrestling.
Exactly. Nobody knew. Maybe 3 people out there knew that tonight was Raw. But anyway, and Sal's correct. But anyway, but my wife DVR'd it, and I went to bed early Saturday night, and she watched it because that's when she DVR'd it, and she absolutely loved it.
Okay.
Yeah, and Sal watched it too. So they were telling me the next day about it. But that just goes to show you that and I have a feeling, and I may be wrong, but I have a feeling Tim Allen is going to probably come back because he kind of was getting the same kind of ramp up.
Sure, he got the shaft, man.
Yeah, he got.
People don't know Tim Allen got, like, he said just something in support of, I think, President Trump. He got this TV show canceled,
right.
And it was just like
it was rated very highly.
And it was nothing even bad what he said. It was just like, oh man.
But as far as TV goes, I'm actually shocked that I would like to know how ABC feels about. I would love to be in their meeting because I would take The Bachelor out of the mix, which I'm told is their highest rated show when it's on.
Other than that, they got nothing.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I wonder, like, if you could get behind closed doors and you're talking, like, say Sal's the president of ABC and I'm the VP, and then we have our program directors, and today's the day that the ratings come out, and Sal's the president, and Sal says to me as the VP of production, like, so how are the ratings this week? What was our top 5? And you go through like, blah 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 was number 5 had like 1 million views, and then number 4, number 3, number 2 had like 1.1 million views. And what was our number 1 show? Oh, Roseanne. Well, really, what that have? Like that had 25 million. And I wonder are they happy? Are they pissed off? Are they like this is what I love to know. But one thing I gotta say, out of all the 3 networks, and I know this is kind of a dumb point to make, but ABC is probably the least liberal of the other 2. Meaning CBS, NBC. NBC by far is the worst.
Well, ABC is Disney, so
right. But yeah, right. I guess that, like I said, it's a dumb point. Yeah. But NBC is off the charts liberal. I mean, they are so liberal. Like, if you ever watch,
just watching the Olympics was nothing
correct.
To drive you crazy.
Well,
like, maybe that's why no one watched the Olympics.
My wife watches This Is Us, and they I don't know if you ever watched the show, but real quick, they go back in time. And in time, they went back to the election, the first Obama election, against, I think it was McCain. And you saw, they didn't show it once. Every character, pretty much. I mean, if you had 10 characters on the show, 8 of the 10 characters had Obama buttons on at some point. And you're saying they're Obama and then whatever. And that's just NBC. CBS is pretty bad too. And ABC, if you had to force rank them, but like Sal said, they're all shitheads. I mean, the whole three.
Every time I see Obama, they're just like they're talking about his style and stuff like that. And the only time I ever see
What style?
Let me finish.
Yeah,
Anytime I see a publication talk about a man style, the man is gay.
Right.
They never talk about a straight man style. That's not the way it goes.
I'm gonna be
they always
honest
talking
with you.
about gay dudes and how like flamboyant they
Well,
are. That's the way they talk about Obama.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I don't get it, and I'm not ragging on the guy. I mean, what style does he have? That he rolls up his sleeve? Who doesn't do that, for Christ's sake? I mean, he wears. He looks like shit in a suit. He's as thin as a coat hanger. Everything looks like it's hanging on him. I mean, what style does he have? I don't get it. It's almost because they have nothing else to say. I mean, I can name. I mean, gay guy or not gay guy. What are you talking about style? I mean, it just is such a ridiculous comment. To really talk about. That pisses me off, actually.
So, did you see this crazy shit? You saw Corey Feldman got stabbed?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I heard.
I was nuts.
Did they say who stabbed him?
No, he said. No one said anything.
Oh, you think he's lying?
I don't think he's lying at all. I think he came out and said they tried to kill me. It was like a 2 a.m. stabbing.
In his home?
I forget. I didn't look into this. I just saw it. I was like, holy shit, Corey Feldman got stabbed. Like they're trying to silence him. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to your head.
It's funny because I did hear, you know what it is sometimes with these guys, with the Hollywood guys, like sometimes you don't know what the.
He legit got stabbed.
Right. But you don't was he out in the party in his ass?
I don't know.
You don't know. You don't know. But
could have been.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what's going on. But
I thought that was insane. I was like, that's it. They're trying to kill him. Like,
well,
he said they were gonna do this.
Yeah, he actually did, and it's crazy. But that's funny.
I think it's an insane story. I have to look into it. I just he lived. He's fine. So It's like, all right, good thing he didn't die because then it would be really messed up.
There's something I'm gonna discuss. It's actually not funny, but here's the scary part. Is I might as well bring it up now.
Yeah.
But it's something I knew nothing about, and the fact I knew nothing about it is just kind of reiterates what Sal and I are talking about the media. Someone sent it to me, and I didn't know anything. And I have to admit, Sal and I can't cover every story, but I looked into it, and then I found out. I'm going to just ask this question. Has anyone out there, have you heard of this person? There was a woman named Beverly Eckert. I never heard of her. You ever hear of her?
No.
Okay. Beverly Eckert, and she doesn't really have a claim to fame, but what happened was Beverly Eckert's husband, Sean Rooney, died in 9/11.
Okay.
So when he died in 9/11, Beverly Eckert was a very vocal person, not saying that the Twin Towers was a conspiracy, not saying that it was a setup. What she was pissed about was that she did some digging and she formed something called the 9/11 Commission. She was the organizer and creator. What she was saying was our agencies, our government agencies like the FBI, DOJ failed us.
Yeah.
So what happened was the government offered her $1.85 million. Basically to shut her mouth. She turned it down.
Wow.
She said she didn't want it.
Right?
Probably. Well, then what happened was she was making a really big stink in New York and D.C. So Barack Obama invites her to talk to him on a Thursday, I believe. Saturday, she was originally from, I think her husband was originally from Buffalo. So it was the anniversary of his death in that Saturday.
Yep.
She's flying, her plane crashes, and she dies. So you say to yourself, how is this not on the news?
Private jet, commercial?
I think it was private.
Okay.
Like a not a tiny little one, but not a Cessna.
I'm guessing if she flew private that they were floating the bill for her to fly private.
Yeah. But how does that how is this lady not a household name? Like, that's big news. You meet the president and then you die? I mean, how many times can we discuss? I said this about 15 podcasts ago. Knowing someone that dies in a plane crash, I think, is 1 in 12 million. Seriously. Do you know anyone died in a plane crash? I know a million people. Thank God, I know nobody who died in a plane crash. Nobody. The only one I knew who died in a plane crash was Thurman Munson, and I didn't know him. He was a catcher for the Yankees, and I saw it on TV.
Payne Stewart, the
exactly,
golfer.
Payne Stewart. But these are guys you don't know. But my point being is 1 in 12 million. I went back and looked. Colleagues and good friends of Hillary Clinton or associates, there's about 18 to 19 people that have died on plane crashes. And most recently, the 2 guys from Rosatom, the uranium one, they died, I think, about a month ago. You don't hear shit about them. One was the president, and one was one of Hillary's biggest donors. You don't hear a word. So how is it the fact that this doesn't even get mentioned by the media? I didn't even know who the woman was. This is insane.
The more and more I see the shit, though, I know, or I think I know that it's not just the Clintons. I think it's like the overriding power that runs the liberal DNC. Like, not to rhyme and make it like, no, that's what it comes down to. Like,
I think Sal's right. I think
because you see her like a speech from her now costs like $25,000 or $18,500 or whatever. You see how cheap it is. It was $250,000.
Yeah,
like,
I think Sal may be right. I think death. I'm going to call it death by like Clinton or death by DNC is now a corporation. And what I mean by that, like, it's an umbrella. You know, there's a big corporation, and the big guys might be the guys in the Bilderbergs or the Illuminati or the Rothschilds, whatever you want to call them. And you have your presidents of the corporation, which are like Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, George Soros, those guys.
You're almost like explaining Resident Evil right
now.
I like it.
Yeah. But that's what I think. But I think I was looking at this whole thing short-sighted when I would say. But I do think here's what makes me think that Hillary Clinton is probably, of the board of directors, Hillary Clinton is probably the president, because when she was in Arkansas, I don't think the DNC was that heavily involved in that. I mean, I'm sorry, not that heavy, not there, but she was knocking people down like left and right.
Yeah, it's something.
Well, yeah, it's
something so much bigger than something
agree.
we can ever explain and ever know. So it's just like we can speculate and think we know until you actually see it, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Sal said. It's bigger, and the fact, and I kind of understand now how things could get so corrupt and buried, because people, this is insane how deep and wide this runs. If you have people that we can't even fathom are involved in this shit.
I think it goes much deeper than just
United
States politics. I think there's a whole
world, like a new world order.
Like, yeah, there really is.
There is.
And I think the people at the top of those seats, I think, because obviously they have the most fucking money in the world, is the Saudis. Yeah. The Saudis, and they've never, like, you don't know how much money these people have. There's no bank records of them. Some people have said that they have trillions upon trillions of dollars,
gold,
just themselves,
right,
and gold and oil. They're the richest people there is. Yeah. That's why when the Saudis come here and we kiss their ass and everyone's like, well, we're doing this, what we do. Everyone in the world kisses their ass because they have the most money. Like,
you know what? There's a question I always ask.
It just blows me away how they got it. Like,
well, the question I always ask that I can't figure out is this: when you're that wealthy, what is your end game? Like, why are
New World Order?
But why? Why do you want that?
Because they have nothing better to do. You saw the one dude, the one prince in Saudi Arabia. He has his name visible from space.
Right.
He wrote it like in the sand in the fucking desert out there. That's how bored they are.
Here's my thing, and maybe I'm thinking way too small here, like a small-minded person. But when you're that rich, and you're like, say, the richest man in the world, or like the guys who are doing it are 5-10 richest men in the world. Yeah. You are set for every generation after you. Like, you're going to be dead. Each of those guys is going to be dead in the next 20, 30 years.
You're set for the next 20
They're next for the 20. Yes. But what are you trying, like, you're going to be dead. Like, do they enjoy their life? Do they work? Like, I don't get, like, what makes them, like, why are they so fucked in the head? I don't get it. And I don't know. It's a question I ask myself every day, and maybe because I'm not a rich guy like that I can't. But I think if I was, I wouldn't be like that. I'd be like, I would actually try to make the world a better place, and I don't think they do.
See, I think that is, I don't know. I think people like that. You have to think of the bloodlines that came down. Those fucking guys are inbreds.
Well, yeah,
they probably got all kinds of mental diseases and disorders, and maybe they weren't like this in the 1400s. But
even the guys here
now they are like. Well,
the American guys. You get the richest guy in the.
I'll say even some of them are inbred.
Right. All right. I think the richest guy in the world that we know of, I think, is Carlos Slim out of Mexico. I think last year he was the #1 guy. Now then you have like Jeff Bezos,
and Elon Musk.
But Jeff
Bezos is the richest guy.
All right, yeah. But Jeff Bezos, like, why is he so messed up? Like, I understand, like, he wants to keep accumulating wealth, but what makes him? Why is he going out of his way to be?
My theory on him is that he was the biggest nerd in the world.
And now he just hates everyone and wants to, like.
Yeah, he wants revenge. Nerd revenge.
Not bad.
Revenge of the Nerds, Part 10.
Yep.
Jeff Bezos, starring Jeff Bezos.
Not a bit.
In Amazon.
Yep.
I'm gonna take down every mom and pop store that didn't hire me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hire every asshole's son to be my worker and spit on him. It's like type of shit like that.
It's not
Type of pettiness.
Yeah, it's
Of a nerd.
It's just I just don't understand what these people like. You're going to be like a guy like George Soros. He's an old, decrepit scumbag. He will be dead in the next 5 years. Look at him. So what? Like instead of saying I'm going to be dead in 5 years, which usually when an old person knows they're going to die, even the bad ones,
divvying it out.
yeah, or not just divvying out. They kind of like realize they've been scumbags all their life, and they even try to get a little bit better. Some of them, and it just seems like he's doubling down and tripling down. He's getting worse as he's getting older. It could be he's going crazy and getting dementia. But you think if he got dementia, he would forget about what he wants to do and just kind of like drool and dribble on himself and just like want a vanilla milkshake or something.
Why do you want so much power at that age?
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Let's get back to politics.
Yeah, let's get it.
So I saw that Kim, little Rocket Man, is finally caving into the U.S. pressure.
Yeah,
and wants to talk and all this.
And, well, not getting any, and President Trump not getting a bit of credit for any of that. And
of course not.
It's another thing. That's another reason why he wins again and they lose.
Kim wanted to play Let's Play Crazy, and Trump is always going to win that one. Yeah, Trump's always going to win that game. He's obviously crazy. So
listen, this is incredibly simple. Let's take it down to the most basic things. Think about when you were a kid, or think about when you were a teenager, and you're going to play chicken. And if any of you know what chicken is, it's when two cars or two vehicles face each other, and you drive towards each other, and the person who gets scared drives off. You're playing chicken. North Korea's playing chicken with a Ford Pinto, and President Trump's got a Hummer or like a tank.
A legit tank.
And of course, that's exactly what he did, and everything he said was right because it's been a proven fact. The mightier your military is, the stronger your military is. It purveys strength. Strength means peace, and that's exactly what he did. It's brilliant. But liberals don't want to see that. They just want to say this and that. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, it's been proven. All of this Russia collusion stuff, all this new. When they say, "Oh, President Trump, he scares us," you should be worried about President Obama with the nuclear weapon, and not for America, because he was helping Iran and Bashir nuclear. He was giving them money to get the warheads.
Here's the money. Here's the blueprints how to make them.
And here's our defense system where you can block ours.
And this is where we're weak. We're weak here. Exactly. We're weak here. We're weak here. Definitely shoot us here.
I mean, I love having these discussions with liberals, and all they do is when you mention the stuff that I just talked about, they all say you're lying. They're lying. You don't know what you're talking about. You hear that all the time.
Let's make him go a little bit crazy. All right.
Yeah,
no, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm going to go. Today, this morning, I'm in the gym and I'm having a great workout, and I'm pretty pumped up. And all of a sudden, I'm walking to one of the machines, and of course, I look up, and it automatically pisses me off that I see that Jeff Sessions says there will be no special counsel. And I lose my mind. I lose it because this whole week, all I've been looking at is like it's been going on for months, but just the amount of proof and criminality that's going on, not only the DNC, with the Obamas, with the Clintons, with every DNC person. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to look at this guy, and I want to say, this is what I want to say to him. Hermie the dentist, it's time for you to go back to the land of the misfit toys. You are he reminds me of the little dude on Rudolph. Get the fuck out of our government. You can't do your job. Unless something's getting done here that I don't know about, Sessions just cemented his fate in my eyes. He's done. And I don't care. I don't really even care about sticking up for him anymore because this would have been so easy to say because I don't know what you need to do to see. How do you not know this? How do you not know that there's so much? You're gonna allow a special counsel of Russia-Trump collusion, which was none proven for 14, 15 months. And now this, which we have more than enough proof, no special counsel. So unless he's got something else going on, and if he does, I'll be the first to apologize to him. But if he does, he better bring it out in the next day or two because I'm pissed.
He doesn't have anything going on.
Right.
He does nothing. I've been saying get rid of this guy for the longest time.
Yep.
I really have.
Yeah.
Since day one, I think. I don't know about this guy.
I don't like him. I just don't like him. I feel like, and here's what I think. If he's not directly involved, he's indirectly involved. Somehow he benefited. Just like the McCains, the McConnells, the Grahams, the Ryans, somehow they got they're dabbling in this shit, and they're just trying to play the game. It's kind of like, when you have a couple of really bad cops out there, and the other cops just kind of say, well, we might have went, took a little bit here and there. Let's just bury it. And that's what I feel like Jeff Sessions is doing.
He's just not doing anything in my eyes. He's not doing shit.
No.
So
there's just too much. And it isn't like he has just like a little bit. He's got a lot.
Yeah, like just start chipping away at it a little. He does nothing at all. Like, and then he just expects things to happen overnight. So he fired what's his name, and that's his claim to fame so far. Like, do something, man.
No,
prosecute somebody. Like,
exactly.
Like, he hasn't done shit in my eyes.
Well, here's what I don't understand. Like, I'm not a cop, or I'm not a detective, but I do know how investigations are done, and it's very simple to me. Quite simple. You go and you grab somebody. You literally go in the middle of the night with a subpoena and a warrant. You kick down their fucking door at 2 a.m. in the morning with guns blazing, SWAT team members, and you pick up a Susan Rice, a Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a John Podesta, somebody. You drag them out of their house or maybe you want to wait till like 7 in the morning and you tip off the media so they can take pictures of you dragging their asses out. And then you say to them very simply, you have basically 5 minutes to tell us something juicy that's going to get your boss or your big boss indicted, or you're going to jail for treason for life.
This is what bothers me too, because he knows that like Comey and all these assholes they're writing books and they're trying to get them published. Like, he does nothing to prosecute them, to like get the real truth out there before all this fiction comes out. Like,
it's funny, like we were talking before, and Sal mentioned about the umbrella criminality in America, in the American system right now. You have the the DNC, which is like the empire, and then you have the branches of the politicians, the FBI, the DOJ, the CIA, whatever. And no one is paying. No, there is so much criminality that we couldn't even discuss it. If Sal and I sat here at 6:30, if we went through, I wouldn't even say a quarter of the crimes that were committed by the Barack Obama administration, we would be here at 8 o'clock, and you guys would be bored, and we would be famished, and
this would be a hardcore history podcast.
Yeah, that's all it would be. But it's
6 hours long.
It's mind-boggling that you can't convict one item. I can name 50 now, 100, not one.
POS.
Sick of them.
Have you saw these Israeli-Palestinian border wars going on?
Yeah.
Man, those pictures are crazy. I will say this, as I am joking, but they do funerals right over there. Holy shit. They just pass the bodies along through the people through the streets. That's insane.
Yeah. It's funny. Back in the day, when I went to go visit my grandfather in Italy, when someone died there, I didn't know what funerals were like. And the town was small, and it was like back in like Sicily. Somebody would die, they would if you remember like an old fruit cart. It was like it looked like a glorified wheelbarrow. And they would just throw the body in there and they would walk through town and the whole town would follow. And the women all wore black and they would all be crying. Like,
it's just crazy. That's how they do it.
That wasn't that many. I mean, it was probably like 40 years ago.
I was looking at the pictures today of that craziness going on over there. It's wild. Like, Israel is not putting up with their shit, man.
Right. No.
They're just not doing it anymore.
I'm going to tell you something. Israel, and I'll say this.
They've killed like 7 people already. Right. Like, and they said it. They're like, oh no, they're doing it under the guise of Passover, and they're hiding behind civilians, and then they're shooting. They're just not. They're just like, fuck this. We're shooting people.
If you do your research, you go look at the Mossad, which is Israeli Special Forces. They're not the best in the world, obviously, and I'm not just saying this because we're Americans, but like the Rangers, the SEALs, the Green Berets, they're the best. And then I think second, I think Spetsnaz, which is the Russian ones, are second best. Mossad is very up there. I mean, they're tough and they're smart and they don't take shit and they're ruthless when they have to be. I guess you got to be, because we talked about this. If you ever go look at their land, it's tiny and they're surrounded by everybody who wants to kill them. Everybody, and it's kind of if you live in Israel, and I had 2 guys who used to work for me in Brooklyn that did. And they were great guys, and they were patriots of Israel. They used to explain to me what goes on over there. And the fact that they don't have any, or I shouldn't say any, but very few terrorist attacks. Their planes are never, you haven't heard of an Israeli plane going down because they know what they're doing.
They have all kinds of stealth equipment.
Incredible stuff.
They have like bomb defense stuff that we don't even have. It's insane.
Yeah,
Their tech, their Silicon Valley of tech is way more advanced than our tech valley.
Yeah.
It's great. Like all the real, like a lot of the tech innovations that we see now, they come from Israel and then they go to Silicon Valley and they get modified and then we get it.
Well,
but all of the ideas come from there. It's pretty wild.
And there's one question, and this is probably not going to be, and I don't know what's bringing me on this tangent, but I'm going to ask it. And I know I'm going to ask Sal because Sal may have a more inherent answer than me because you'll understand after I ask the question. But how is it that Jewish Americans, and I know a lot of them, now I'm not paintbrushing as 100%, but I will say, and I'm not talking about my friends I know, because all my Jewish American friends that I'm tight with are pretty much all conservative. But how is that predominantly Jewish Americans from towns in New Jersey, like Livingston or Lakewood or wherever you're from in New Jersey, or New York, if you're in Manhattan, there's a million of them. How are they always pro-Obama, pro-Democrat, and the Democrats and Obama hate Israel? First of all, Obama was treated President Netanyahu and Israel as the bastard stepchild. He despised them. He disrespected them. And you Jewish Americans still support him. It's mind-boggling to me, and I wonder how that is. But the reason I'm asking is Sal used to work for a very heavy-duty Jewish guy who was conservative. But what was his reason? What would he say? Because you must have asked.
I mean, I don't know if he would like me talking about it or if they're gonna like me talking about it, but it's gonna come out the way it comes out. Like, there's heavy infighting within the religion itself, between the Orthodox, between the Nazis, between just the average Jewish person. And a lot of them, it's not a stereotype, it's not anything, it's the truth. They're corrupt. They're corrupt individuals.
True. Yes.
They're looking for payoffs.
This is
you
true.
see it just in Lakewood, New Jersey. Look up Lakewood, New Jersey Jewish people. You see all the crimes that have just been committed in the last 2 years.
Well,
it's absolutely insane.
If you're in New York, there's a place called Muncie.
Oh, that's like all.
That is the same. It's Lakewood North.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But you're right. He sounds right. It's
so
true.
I don't want to of course, it's not all of them. It's not all of them, but a lot of them they're digging their hands into the cookie jar, man, and they're just trying to take it. If it brings down their own people, so be it.
In the gym, I used to have this man named Alan, who I loved. Great man, conservative. And if Alan, if you're watching or know anybody who's watching, I love Alan.
And I love my ex-boss.
Right.
It's nothing against it.
No, but Alan, I would ask Alan this, and he would say to me, he was dumbfounded by it because he predominantly would go out to dinner on a Saturday or Friday night with his wife and their friends, and they're predominantly Jewish Americans, and they're normal. They're not what Sal's mentioning in Lakewood or Muncie. And he would say to me, Gary, what you need to understand is their ideology circumvents their religious beliefs or their religion. He goes, they've been brainwashed so much. And he goes, I don't get it. I never will get it. But he fights the battle, that guy. He goes, Gary, I'll go out to dinner. It'll be 7 against 1 or 6 against 1 or 5. And he goes, I get tired of it. And I get it. He's a man in his 70s now, and he's tired.
I feel bad. I think that's kind of what happened to my former boss. Yeah. He's like that. And I know he isn't as tight with his family, I think, as he used to be and stuff like that. But he's got his own family now. It's huge. So more power to him. But I think that might be sort of the reasoning why they fall along the lines of go with the crowd. And he's like, I'm going to do my own thing.
Well, you're running into a lot of people today who say, not even just in general, that said since the election, that has happened to them. It happened to pretty much everybody that we talked to. But another thing I came across, and I didn't know about this either. I was sent this today. And I actually came across it by accident. And it was something interesting. There was this European radical liberal named Ole Damagard. And it was insane because this March for Lives protest that just took place a couple weeks ago, I don't know if you people know this, but in order to do an assembly of that large of a scale, it takes a long time. Because first off, you're dealing with Homeland Security and you're dealing with government bureaucracy. You cannot, I'm told from people who do this kind of stuff, is that cannot be assembled in a week. It takes a long time. And then I came across an email. And basically what the email intimated was there was a DC police officer. His name was Scott Earhart, and he's in charge of these assemblies. His badge number is 2372. He's a legit guy. They said that this permit to assemble was done months in advance. So I say to myself, wait a second.
Well, I think that was planned. That March for Lives was an
it was
actual
always
march.
planned.
They didn't know about the scale of it in quotation marks, what it was going to be, but it was always. It's one of those yearly annual things. I believe so. I'm not even certain.
All right, maybe that's the case.
I think it's an annual.
And then maybe I'm blowing that out of proportion. But my point is,
I think I was saying.
But or is there timing just lucky?
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
I think it's an March for Lives. I'm pretty sure it's annual. They just didn't know the fucking scale of it.
Okay.
But I say scale in quotations because maybe you're right. Maybe it was done once in advance.
Right. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like that I'm not trying to be a tin hat or conspiracy theory, but
No,
but my point is being like how is like I don't know. It just stinks. It's something. And I don't know if you heard what happened in Orlando. I didn't know this. The kid who shot up Orlando. Do you know his dad was an FBI informant for years?
No.
His dad was an FBI informant.
The guy at the Pulse nightclub?
Yep.
The
Yes.
terrorist?
Yes. His
Wow.
dad was an FBI informant. And you say to yourself, and then I find out now, I'm going to switch gears here.
Wait, before you do that, I didn't want to talk about this March for Lives nonsense, and not because kids don't have a say. It's just because kids produce nothing economically.
Right.
Like, if they did something more to society other than just have to be students and learn and become good people later on, I would actually listen. They produce nothing. They give nothing back. I can't listen to these kids. I feel their pain. They're at a school. Their friends got killed. It sucks. But you haven't lived yet. Just because you lived through a horrible situation doesn't mean you've lived through actual life yet. You don't understand.
Well,
You just don't understand the children.
It's funny you bring up. I just want to address this kid because I'm sorry. I despise this little punk, this David Hogg kid. And I'm going to tell you something. I found out because I did some research on this kid. I didn't know a lot about him. And first off, I can't figure out how old he exactly is because I don't really think he's 17. I think he's older. But his mom works at CNN, and his dad's an ex-FBI agent. So now you're saying to yourself, all right, well,
Go figure
that, right? But secondarily, it's interesting because there's two kids who spoke. Well, there's more than two. But the two I'm going to mention these were actual children in the school whose friends died. And one of the kids who spoke up today was the brother of his sister was killed. They both came out against this David Hogg saying, David Hogg doesn't give a shit about these kids who got shot. He's basically he's grandstanding, and he's just trying to make himself
a name,
exactly, and
trying to brand himself.
And he said that he's never talked up.
Like it's not obvious.
Correct. And this one kid who I've seen on several different things, we discussed him.
I like him. Yeah.
His name's Kyle Kashup. He actually came out and said, you know what? David Hogg, somehow, because he has media connections with his mother, has never asked to speak to me once. Matter of fact, my friend, whose sister that I just mentioned, he never called him and he goes, the guy is a robot. He could care less. He has and believe me, he said he wasn't even near the school when he wasn't like us. We know inherently kids who were killed. He didn't even know any of these kids pretty much.
Did you see the really funny story that came out of that? Alex Jones' son wants to have a debate with him. Did you see that?
How old is Alex Jones' son?
He looks like a kid. He's got to be 18, 19, 20, around there.
David Hogg will never
17
debate anyone.
Well, Alex Jones' son obviously would kill him in a debate if he's got his dad in his corner.
Right, He will never debate anyone. And I got to say this before I go. If you are going to be a kid, 17, 18-year-old kid, coming on TV, throwing bombs at people, calling expletives, cursing at people, telling them how they should live. If people come back at you and then you want to play, you want to play the what do you call it? You want to play I'm a kid, then you should get the fuck off the camera because it doesn't work that way. And to Sal's point, you don't know what life's about because if you're gonna throw bombs at people, shit's gonna come back. And if you can't handle it, then get out. And that's exactly what pisses me the most. I don't care what the kid says. He has the right to say whatever he wants.
That just bothers me. They haven't lived yet.
Right.
They don't know anything. They've lived this little bubble life for the first 18 years, and they have no idea what life's actually about yet.
Yeah. Well, I guess my point, why I despise him so much is because I can't stand. He's a complete liberal munt who sits there.
He's perfect.
He's a perfect munt.
He's the epitome of
Yeah,
it.
he's the one that wants to throw hand grenades at people, and with the pin he throws them, and then when they pick him up and throw them back at him, he starts running away crying because if you're gonna, that's not the way life is, son. I'm sorry to tell you, Junior. If you're gonna, act like you're a tough guy, people are going to square up against you and punch you back. And then at the time when you're throwing punches and you don't want to have people hit you back, you're in the wrong sport then, son. You better get lost. And I can't stand him, that little skinny bastard. I hate him.
I'm with you. I saw something really funny this week. And the South Park creators, Matt Stone, Trey Parker.
Yeah, I heard the whole thing was
pretty ingenious guys themselves. If you guys don't watch South Park, it's a hilarious show. I love it. Even if they stray off, sometimes they'll liberal. But they accepted the Freedom Award, and that was from the American Way Foundation, a very liberal organization.
Yep.
And they got our dude Larry Elder to come up.
Larry Elder's brilliant.
They got him, and Larry Elder even said, he's like, why would they want me at this liberal organization to give them an award? It makes no sense. He's like, I don't like these people, blah, blah, blah. But Larry Elder's like, okay, I accept. I'll give you guys the award. So they got up there, and they were doing their spiel, and then they're like, the article was read, they came out as Republicans.
Yeah.
And then as everyone was laughing, they're like, no, we're serious.
Yeah.
No, we actually are Republicans.
Now, here's the question I have for you.
I think they later said they're libertarians, but they lean more right than left.
Think about this. If they had said that previously when they had gotten an award, hell no.
Hell no. Not from that organization.
No, hell no.
The American Way Foundation.
Listen, I think that's genius because that's how, if I was running for political office, that's how I would run.
Yeah.
I would run as a Democrat.
And then come out and be like, actually, you know what?
And that's exactly what I would do. And I would actually, that's what I would do. And that's how you would win because all they care about is D next to the name. That's all they care about.
Dummies.
But I mentioned this. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, and I just got to mention it again. And this goes back to the media. But if anyone has not watched any of these interviews with this guy William Douglas Campbell, I implore you to do so. He is incredibly. I know this is going to sound kind of a weird term, but he's incredibly credible. He knows his stuff inside out. Now think about this. Here's a man. He was asked, in the last 30 years of being an FBI, undercover informant, has your life been in danger? He said, absolutely. He was like, have you felt that you were going to be killed on the job? He goes, a lot. But he was the guy who comes out and he had this week he came out and said that there was no doubt in his mind that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton knew about all of the meddlings of Russia, the money that was given, that they were involved. And he said the FBI knew, and when it went sour and they voted the CFIUS deal in and they gave the uranium to Russia, he flipped out. And when he approached his handlers, who were the lower level FBI guys, that they got screwed, and he asked, how the hell could this happen? They all basically said to him, we're not happy about this, Bill, but it's politics. And he's like, what are you talking about? This is our country. We're giving it away. We're threatening our security. And at this point, when you talk to him and he comes out with like a shadow, he knows way too much. And he has said point blank, I have video testimony. I have video proof, financial records, audio. He's got everything. And that's where that makes me so aggravated that Sessions is not doing anything. And something got to get done. I'm praying like a judicial committee or Senate oversight committee does something, because this guy is probably one of the most credible people that I've seen. And the fact that nobody is even paying attention to him is mind-boggling.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw this story, sad guys. I'm sorry to bring it up, but this is basically the epitome of things that we're rolling with on this episode. Just the epitome of liberalisms. They go. You see this story about the lesbian feminists in California that adopted like 5 or 6 black kids?
No.
All right, exactly what
Are they from Africa?
The kids?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I was wondering.
They adopted
That would really be like.
And I think they might even have been siblings or whatever, but there was this lesbian couple in California. They were feminists. They were like huge, whatever, liberal people. They adopted these kids and they drove them off a cliff and killed them.
What?
Yeah, I was just like, this is the type of insanity that.
Why?
I don't know if people know the story better than I do.
I didn't hear about
it. Everyone's dead. They don't know why it happened. There's no skid marks going off the cliff. It's just like they did it on purpose and all attention. And all the people that they interview afterwards, they're like, yeah, there was something wrong with them too. Always those interviews after, like, if you knew there was something wrong with them and they were adopting all these black babies, what the hell are you thinking? Like,
all right, wait.
Why are they allowing this?
I'm not making a joke of this. This is not a joke.
It was like they killed 6 black
babies.
babies.
But here's
they
my
were so
thing.
fucked up. Like,
you guys are worried about guns and checks of background checks. What about this?
I was like losing it. I was like, obviously, and people that are in like, yeah, I think there was some mental instability in that relationship, and you're allowing them to adopt children, like.
I mean, it
blows me away. It blows me away.
Where's Al Sharpton, man? With these, where's Black Lives Matter protesting against the adoption agencies?
Funny you said. Well, I'm going to get into that piece of shit in a second. I'm gonna ordain myself as a reverend soon, so I can really become Reverend Sal Sharpton, guys. Just so you know that
Sal wants it.
It's going to be. I want it bad. I want that moniker.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll get to now. Getting to Al. Did you see him with that asshole in Sacramento? Did you see the cops?
Yeah.
And then his asshole brother doing that shit in the council meeting?
Well, his one brother who went out for the March for Lives, he had the gun. He got busted on gun charge.
I was thinking to myself, now this is fucked up. I wouldn't say I want the guy to die from this, but it would have been such poetic justice if he would have stormed that council room and he would have got shot.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I would have laughed. I'm not saying I want him to die.
Right.
But I couldn't believe that. And then Al Sharpton, these cops gotta be stopped. He did this whole thing with the kid, like arm.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, how phony. And you can tell that his brother was more or less sad than his brother dying, and he was more happy to be on fucking TV.
Right. Well, here's what I would love to ask Al, and nobody out there asked Al this question. And this is what I'd love to ask Al. Hey Al, where were you in Broward County? If you people don't know, there's a guy named, I think his name was Jameel McGee. He's in Broward County. That piece of shit Scott Israel's district, and he was an unarmed black man, and he was killed by the Broward County PD. The same cowards that didn't go into Parkland for the shooting. They stayed outside and witnessed all these kids getting murdered because they were cowards. There was exact same circumstance done in Broward County. And how is it that Al Sharpton didn't march down to Broward County and do the same thing that he's doing in Sacramento? How is that possible? Because you know why? Al Sharpton doesn't give a rat's ass about black lives. He doesn't give a shit about a black man being killed by a police officer, because he's probably being in Broward County. He was probably being paid. He was
Sacramento, you mean?
No, probably Broward County. That's why he didn't bother them.
That's why.
Because if you go back in, Israel was working with Black Lives Matter and NAACP, and they probably were giving them, money to. So it was like pay for play, quid pro quo. Let's pay the Reverend Al. Oh, by the way, Reverend Al, when that guy McGee gets shot, you can't come down here. Well, put a little more in my envelope this month. No problem, Reverend Al.
That's why you guys come to the Rev podcast for the preachings of Reverend Sal, baby.
Yeah, Reverend Sal, not Reverend Al. But it's crazy that this shit goes down, because the hypocrisy is so apparent.
Where is he for these black babies? Like 5 of them.
You know why? Because they ain't putting no money in his pocket. Listen, Reverend Al don't get that fancy haircut. Where you get how a chick.
They don't pay for my extensions, boy.
Well, how a chick gets their hair straightened. Reverend Al got to get those Jerry curls pulled out. So he's got to be in a beauty parlor for hours. That's like $500-600, man. And then he's got the nice suit that he goes probably onto Park Avenue in Manhattan.
Got, like, the Frankenstein line going.
He's got all that shit going. So that's a lot of money. Reverend Al needs to get paid.
I couldn't believe it when I saw that story. I couldn't believe that it was real. I was like, this is some messed up shit. But it goes along with the ideology of a liberal person.
Right. And then something came out today, and I got to see the way this is going to fall. And just another crime that's being ignored. But what came out today is Sal and I talked a bunch of podcasts ago about these Anwan brothers. There were 3 brothers who were Pakistani born, had ties to Hamas. They basically were employed. No, not basically. They were employed by Obama for 3+ years. They made almost like $1 million in salaries. Matter of fact, they were paid double. Like, say, for example, all right, Sal's a computer guy. Sal's job in the free market, say hypothetically, was $100,000. These Anwan brothers would pay like $2.25 each to work in the White House.
For the same job.
Right, for the same job. What they found out today was there was Debbie Wasserman Schultz and 44 Democrats passed on doing background checks on these guys. Didn't do anything. Now, listen, people. Anyone knows who works in a big corporate America job that you can't get anywhere without a background check.
I mean, I just got hired to a low-level corporation,
Correct.
and they were doing all kinds of checks on me, references, seeing if I was crazy or not. How do you get into
Right.
the government without that? Like,
well, you do if it's a corrupt job, if you're doing something illegal, and that's what this was done. But basically, these guys were also, found trying to escape with a lot of money. They were picked up at the airport and they were found guilty. They were found guilty of crimes. So now I'm going to see what's happening and how are these guys? Like, I'm hoping that these dudes are somewhere deep in Guantanamo Bay getting
I hope they're
tortured.
just ratting on
Yeah.
all of them. Every single one of them.
And that's another thing.
I got pictures too.
Well,
I
yeah.
hope so.
Well, I think they
I
said
hope so.
all their hard drives. They were trying to find all this other stuff. But that's just another thing that goes back to our original point of just. And the media doesn't say a word. In order to find this stuff, you got to search it out. You got to search it out. It's crazy.
I'm done with all my stuff. So
The last thing I want to mention, two things actually, because they tie hand in hand. And one, we're going to talk about California real quick because we shit on California. But if
we love people there.
If Rosemary Salvatore is watching this, Rosemary, my wife and I love you, but we want to tell you that Orange County is standing strong. They are standing up against these scumbags, and I give you all the credit in the world, you and your neighbors out there, because you guys are doing the right thing. Because I don't know if you guys heard about the Orange County sheriff. It's this woman who came out and said this. She said, okay, if California, now basically the way our government is so fucked up in D.C., in California, you have the triangle of scumbags. You have Jerry Brown, who is either senile or he's gone nuts. He's him. Then you got this guy Javier Becerra, who's basically the Attorney General of California, and then you got this piece of shit Libby Schaaf, who's the Oakland mayor. This Orange County woman, and I wish I could know her name. I forgot it. I think it may be Buchanan. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I'm going by memory. But she came out, and what she does every day is every time she finds out that one of her opposing government agency people are releasing a criminal, regardless if they're illegal. But if, say, Jerry Brown's releasing criminals, she publishes their name and says that they're getting released and that they should be picked up. And Becerra said, we're going to file charges against the Orange County sheriff. We want her arrested. But this idiot who's supposed to be a lawyer and he's supposed to know what he's talking about is what she's doing is totally legal. It's totally, she's got her ass covered. She's smarter than him and she's doing it. So Orange County is also coming out against all these sanctuary states. They're going nuts. They're pissed off and they've had enough. And what I'm told is as blue as California is, Orange County is turning more and more red every day.
Yeah, I
so
mean,
give them credit.
That's a very rich county, so
Yes.
I'm sure that they're floating the bill. Or
Correct,
a lot
they
of
are.
other,
They said
of a lot of other
I
counties.
think they said 37% of all residents pay all the taxes for California.
I'm sure of that. So I'm sure they're getting sick of it, and they're like, "What the hell are we doing this for?"
God bless you. And then there's one other thing I want to mention. And I want to get Sal's take on this because it was quite disturbing. I saw a documentary. A woman from England who is a real-time journalist, and she actually came out and made fun of liberals in America. And she said, "Listen, England has our own problems that we're trying to deal with, and we are in the shitter here. But as bad as we are, I came over to LA for 1 week. I went in LA, downtown LA. She went to Skid Row. She said the video I took in 1 week, I can't even show here on TV. It's that disturbing and disgusting."
Yeah,
and
the homeless cities.
She said the Skid Row
population.
Yeah, she basically said that, and they're saying that right now in downtown LA, they have basically a plague. They said the bubonic plague and hepatitis A is off the charts now
because people shit in the streets.
People, I don't know if you know how the bubonic plague plays out. I had a buddy who is a Navy SEAL. When back in the day in Afghanistan, when they were killing them like crazy, when this was during Bush's term, when they kind of had the reins taken off, and after 9/11, they said, "Go ahead." I spoke to him. He said one of their best tactics were standing with snipers in the mountain ranges. And what would happen is whenever there was a couple reasons why the Afghans or the ISIS guys or Hezbollah or
Okay.
Al-Qaeda or Taliban would come out is for a couple reasons. They would come out and smoke just to get fresh air. They'd come out and take a shit, or they come out and eat. As soon as they did that, their heads would get blown off. So every time they would come out of the mountain, boom, they get picked off. So what happens? They're afraid to come out. Or what they would do is when they were in the mountain because they were afraid to come out, they would get like these belly buster, huge bombers drop a bomb in the opening. It would make the rocks crumble. They weren't trying to blow the mountain. They were trying to close the opening. What would happen is these guys would get stuck inside. So what they would have to do is live. So they would have to take shits inside. And guess what would happen? After they took shits, the rats would get their waste, get their leftover food, and they would eat it. And then they would bite them. And when they bite them, they would all die from bubonic plague. That's happening in the streets of LA. And he said it's worse than any third world country in the world today. Africa, Bombay, India, LA, and San Francisco. It's disgusting. And they said that the amount of physical human waste that's picked up every day is like 5,000 pounds. Who the fuck wants that job?
See, this is what kills me, and we'll tie it all in with the media. Again, how does the media not talk about this? This seems like such a more prevalent problem than Stormy Daniels. It's just like the homeless problem. I was talking to Gary before the show. Look up how many children go missing in America a year. It's almost 1 million. And that's not even an exaggeration. It's almost a million kids. Think about that number. 1 million kids every year almost go missing.
They're abducted, kidnapped, murdered, and sex slaves.
They don't tell you how many get recovered. So just think about almost 1 million. How many kids are there? Like, it's crazy. But the media will talk about infidelity that happened 10 plus years ago that has nothing to do with anything.
For days, weeks.
And we'll try to tie it into this, and we'll try to tie it into that, and it doesn't work.
Well, I watched it, and Sal's on point here because I did watch, and I think, and I don't know if the guy is still living. He might have died, but he was big FBI guy, and he basically said exactly what Sal said, that you will not believe the amount of child trafficking and kidnapping and crazy shit going on. It's nuts.
It's insane how prevalent it is, and they don't talk about it.
No, not at all.
Like that is probably it's one of the biggest things that's going on in this whole world.
Right.
They don't. But that's the one good thing that they're giving Trump credit for is that he's cracking down on all this stuff. He's pumped so much money into stopping those trafficking.
Well, quick question: Do we hear the liberals praising him?
Oh, you don't even hear you barely hear about it in the news. You just see 400 men arrested in Arizona, 250 men arrested in Utah. And they're little blurbs that ring busted here, ring busted there, ring busted, and they don't talk about it big time. Why praise them when you could just shit on them for being orange?
Well, how is it that you're against that? You're against children being sold, but you'll sit out there and
obviously they're for it because they allowed this. Let's adopt them and drive them off cliffs.
Right. Well, you're against some maniac. Who you're going against the NRA, or get some maniac went and killed all these kids when all these other parameters, everything they do, the liberals want to do. They want to do everything so they think that one little thing cures all. And I saw. I have to talk about this now because it was great. If you guys get a moment, check out a guy named Matt Bevins. I think he's in Kentucky. He is a very intelligent, very well thought of, very articulate dude. And he was having a town hall. And this woman came on, and she and I knew how this was going to go because he was up there, he was answering everybody's questions, and it lasted quite a bit. I watched the whole hour, but this one specific episode lasted about 5.5 minutes. But she came on, she was one of the last people, and she said, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. And then she came out and said, how can you support the NRA and gun control? And you don't know what it's like to have a child die, your oldest child, a child die by your hands. And the woman was still smug because he said to her, he goes, obviously, ma'am, you didn't do your homework on my life. He goes, because I did lose my oldest child. He goes, I lost my daughter when she was 17. And he goes, so you don't even know what you're talking about. I do know what it's like. And even after that, the woman had a smug look on her face, and he kind of set her straight. Like, how dare you come up here with that look on your face? and you have no idea what you're talking about. And then he went on to say that there's so many parameters on why. He goes, and he went through them, and he gave facts about the breakdown of the family, lack of God. He went into like the amount of, he said, pornography being proposed to children, at 12, like 11 and 12 years old,
Way
little
earlier
kids,
than that.
way earlier than that. Video games, lyrics, he said just basically, parents not being involved with their children, kids being left out there, father figures missing. He went through all this stuff, not strong role models in the community. And she still gave him like NRA, and he just mowed her down. And it was excellent to see a guy. And he even said there, he goes, you know what, you're a fool. He said, you're a delusional fool. If you think passing one rule for the NRA is going to change anything, because it ain't going to change shit. He goes, you're a delusional idiot. He goes, I don't even want to talk to you anymore. He goes, you can't have a dialogue without rolling your eyes like a child. You're a 50-something-year-old woman. He goes, you're an idiot. And he sent her packing, and people clapped for him. But it was a great, response to exactly what we go through every day of our lives. Because when you come to realize that liberals are nothing but grown-ass adults who act like little children, and it's scary that these people have kids, that they procreate, because I've never seen
It really is.
adults act like this in my life. In my entire life, I've never seen a professor or a teacher like go crazy with their students, or an adult you're having a dialogue start calling names and saying they're going to shoot you, or you're a rape. Like it's almost like throw a temper tantrum in the middle of the room and lose their minds and become unhinged. You see it every day. And it's getting so old. People are getting sick of it. They're just tired of it.
It's over. It's pretty much
over.
over. They tried for almost a year and a half now to push this shit on people, and everyone's sick of it and
tired.
so fed of it,
and then
fed up with it. That's why everyone's tuning out. No one's watching.
The last thing I want to just talk about, and then we can wrap it up, is that I think the whole thing with the not the budget, but the omnibus bill. I think we talked about it real quick, but I don't know if some of you guys know this thing, but the omnibus bill is not a budget, which means once President Trump gets the money, he can spend it as he wishes. So Barack Obama did the same thing when he got that huge bill passed with Obamacare. He did whatever he wanted, and Democrats didn't mind at all. But President Trump can do the same thing. So what he's been intimating, which is exactly making me laugh my ass off, and it will make the wheels of the DNC fall off, is he's saying, wait a second, that big military budget of $700 billion that we got approved? He goes, I think some of that's going to go towards the wall. And everyone's like, what? What are you talking about? It's just funny that he even floated that, because I think there's a method to President Trump's madness, and he's got a plan. He does have a plan. So I think now I don't have no problems with President Trump. My big problem, or the big rash I have in my ass, to go back kind of like Back to the Future, is Jeff Sessions. And Sal and I have been talking. I think Sal, from the first podcast, I shouldn't say first podcast, but the podcast when President Trump got elected and started doing his nominees, he said to me, and I agree with him, I didn't like him as the appointee. Just for the sole fact is that I just want a guy in there. He didn't seem strong enough to me. He just doesn't seem like he's got that backbone. He ain't like a Rudy, because you need a guy in there. And I'm a little disappointed. And I've spoken proudly about this gentleman in the past, but I gotta dress him down. Is I heard him on some of the news shows on Sunday, the political news shows. Trey Gowdy, to me, unfortunately, who I thought he was a stand-up guy.
That's why he's leaving.
Yeah, he tucked his tail between his legs and he kind of threw in the white flag, and he bummed me out yesterday because he was not what he said he was. So now I got to go with guys like, there's a guy DeSantis here in Florida who's kick-ass. Devin Nunes has proven to be a stud. I mean, he's taking the bull by the horns. Jim Johnson is a beast. He's an ex-Marine. He's a smart dude, and he don't take shit from nobody. These are the kind of guys we got to start voting for, and women out there, because Haley's no joke either. She's been putting it.
They're saying that they might run her for the next Republican woman president.
Yeah,
when the time comes.
She's pretty good. She's tough, but
they're saying she might be it.
But that on my end, that's pretty much all I got. You got anything else going on? We're gonna listen. So once again, I hope you guys all had a great Easter. My boy Sal, Gary Gabagool out. Hope everyone has a great evening. Go eat your dinner tonight, and the Red Podcast will see you probably maybe coming up sooner than later. We'll start getting more of a
It won't be as long as last time.
Right, it'll be gonna come up soon. So take care, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night, guys.
Thanks for tuning in. Oh, good.
What do we go, like a minute, 5?
It's on here.
What's that?